We're back, and tonight we are discussing Egypt's support to Gaza, that important file, Egypt's role today, that is of a strategist and a healer, that is turning borders into bridges and rubble into reconstruction. And we're honored to have with us Councillor Dr. Hossam Deen Allam, international law expert, who is going to talk to us tonight more about this file and also about the international law and the important role that Egypt plays in the region. Councillor Hossam Allam, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. Pleasure is mine. Well, first this report, and we will be back for further discussion. Stay tuned.
Egypt has positioned itself at the heart of the international efforts to rebuild Gaza, determined to shape the region's future through active diplomacy and constructive conference building. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and Foreign Minister Badr Abdel Ati have tirelessly coordinated with global actors from the UN to the Arab League, the EU, China, Russia, and key private sector players to secure both vision and funds for Gaza's recovery. Throughout the last period, President el-Sisi has taken to the phone and summit halls, engaging in active diplomacy. While specific calls remain confidential, his multiple conversations with Arab, European and UN leaders underline Egypt's role as a mediator and organizer. In parallel, the President has pushed a plan for Gaza that aligns private investment with Palestinian technocratic oversight, a roadmap that gained regional endorsement and counters plans advocating for depopulation. On June 27th, during a visit to the Rafah border crossing, Speaker of the Arab Parliament, Mohammed bin Ahmed al-Yamahi, lauded Egypt's and President el-Sisi for their steadfast support of the Palestinian people and their critical role in receiving Gaza's wounded. The high-level Arab Parliament delegation assessed the worsening humanitarian crisis in Gaza, exacerbated by ongoing Israeli military operations and blockade. Al-Yamahi condemned the occupation's atrocities, emphasizing they will never be forgotten. He urged the international community to act decisively, stressing that Arab states remain committed to applying political pressure to end the aggression and uphold justice for the Palestinian people. Also, on June 30th, marking the 12th anniversary of Egypt's 30th June Revolution, President el-Sisi delivered a stirring speech and echo across the Arab world. The head of state spotlighted Gaza's anguish as emblematic of region-wide suffering and stressed that durable peace must be born from justice and equality, not force. Beyond rallying domestic unity, the President's remarks signal to the world that Egypt will continue forging ahead diplomatically, reminding all that peace cannot be born from bombardment or imposed by force, stressing that Egypt spares no effort to keep stressing its readiness to assume leadership, to shift the narrative, and to transform Gaza's future from ruin to resilience. At various summits and conferences across the world and on the ground, Egypt is waving an architecture of hope, not with empty gestures, but with concrete blueprints, mobilized coalitions, and international partnerships.
Welcome back. In his speech marking the 12th anniversary of June 30th Revolution, His Excellency President el-Sisi had reaffirmed Egypt's unwavering support for Gaza and the broader Palestinian cause. Councillor Hossam Allam, if we speak about the important role that is played by Egypt diplomatically, of course, as a global mediator that won respect worldwide in order to achieve peace in Gaza and reach a ceasefire.
Yeah, definitely.
How do you see it? Yeah.
I do see that, and I'm also positive that many international observers can attest to the fact that Egypt historically has always been a forerunner and a torchbearer when it comes to playing an effective and constructive role to maintaining the peace and security in the entire region of the Middle East and beyond. And this actually is in total conformity with the long-standing history of the State of Egypt as one of the founders of the United Nations and the very early signatories to the Charter of the United Nations. So I do think that the stance of the Egyptian state and the consistency that we can clearly observe, clearly reflected in the presidential diplomacy played by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi himself, as well as the diplomacy played by the foreign minister, Dr. Badr Abdel Ati. All of them, all of these efforts, I mean, they are in total conformity with this long-standing role and position of Egypt and this commitment, as a matter of fact, to its international and legal obligations. So we clearly see how is it Egypt has this very important, strategic and viable role that the reality, as a matter of fact, imposes on the entire region for Egypt to always be in the forefront as a key major regional power. And this is why we do see that ever since the whole conflict, the Arab-Israeli conflict erupted, Egypt has always been in the forefront. So this is why it makes perfect sense to come to the conclusion that there would never be a long and lasting resolution to the conflict without Egypt weighing in and having a clear say in it.
Yes, and in light of the codes also of the international humanitarian law, and as you know, Councillor Hossam, that Egypt is planning that important, crucial international conference on Gaza in order to mobilize resources for the building in the Gaza Strip and also the recovery of Gaza. How do you see this binding with international humanitarian law?
Yeah, definitely. Let me here, in order to provide the answer to this very important question, and for our dear viewers also to be fully in the picture with us, when we say international humanitarian law, or IHL, or the law of armed conflicts, or the law of the war, we mean these established set of rules that provide certain guarantees of safety to both civilians and civilian objects. So according to the four Geneva Conventions and the subsequent protocols, all of them, they provide the basic foundational sources of the international humanitarian law, and this is why we have governing principles that regulate, and they are meant to guide the behavior, if I may say, and the conduct of the warring parties whenever a war starts or breaks out. So one of the very important principles that need to be observed, respected and maintained of the international humanitarian law is ensuring the safety of civilians as well as those who are no longer partaking in the acts of atrocities. Of course, needless to say, all civilian targets or objects like hospitals, places of worship, houses, schools. So when we see the call for Egypt, for the international humanitarian law to be upheld, and for the rules of international humanitarian law to be respected, and in addition to this, to spearhead the global efforts in order to make sure that a ceasefire is reached and maintained, and that an end to the continuous atrocities come to be effective, and furthermore the need to reconstruct Gaza so that Gazans have the ability and the safety to return to their homes and to their lands, and to ensure the process, the full peace process that would guarantee, as President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi clearly stated in his most recent speech, in order to ensure a lasting peace that is built on the basis of fairness, justice, respect for the rules of international humanitarian law, and for the establishment and the recognition worldwide of a Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital. So definitely such a call for an international conference to put all responsible parties and all stakeholders, and as well as all the concerned international bodies in front of their responsibilities, in order to ensure, as I said, a just and a fair resolution to the Palestinian cause.
Right. In a deeply emotional address before the UN Security Council last Monday, the Palestinian envoy had already underscored the suffocating political and financial blockade that was inflicted or imposed by Israel on the Palestinian government. And of course there has been an international condemnation vis-a-vis this act. How can we transcend, Councillor Allam, this rhetoric of condemnation into action on solid grounds?
Yes, definitely it's vital and it's important to have a clear positions that condemns the act or the acts, if I may say, of genocide, the usage of torture as a means of mass torture on civilians, the lack of disrespect, the lack of respect and the total disrespect, I mean, for even the dignity of the deceased. All such atrocities, definitely they need to be condemned, and we see the international bodies also taking clear positions as reflected in the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Code. So this is important, yet further constructive, practical steps need to be taken globally, and we need to witness a practical translation of the principles and the norms of the UN Charter, and to see a just and moral conduct from the Security Council in order to implement the responsibilities and to turn into a reality all the responsibilities of the Security Council, and put an end to all the acts of aggression taken by the Israeli side.
Yes, Councillor Allam, in order to safeguard Gaza, and actually what would be the legal binding steps, in your opinion, to be undertaken in order to face the Israeli atrocities in Gaza?
Yes, we clearly see that there is now an international case, and we see the amount of support that it is attracting globally. We clearly see how that it was initiated by countries like South Africa, and more countries and organizations moved in support of this international case. We see also the steps taken forward by the International Criminal Court. So what we see is definitely there is this momentum and attaining and gaining more force in order to bring about a just set of rulings that would really set clear responsibilities and therefore clear rulings against those who committed violations of the rules of international law and the rules of international humanitarian law, even if this would take time, but still definitely this is the ultimate result, no matter how long the process would take. So what we need to see is more diplomatic efforts that depend on multilateralism in order to make sure that the mechanisms of the global organizations like the United Nations bring about productive and constructive results.
Yes, in Israel we find that the military and the political elite appear very much divided, and we find also that Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is trying to prolong the Gaza offensive in order to consolidate his political position. So how do you see possible scenarios bearing into consideration the political situation inside Israel?
Yeah, definitely. We clearly see as observers the situation inside the Israeli government, the pressure from the families of the hostages, along with the pressure from the outside world, how the media now worldwide and more global opinion clearly sees the true ugly face of the Israeli Zionist occupation, the day-to-day violations of international law and international humanitarian law. So we really can expect, hopefully, more pressure to be exerted by the concerned parties in order to really see a much more moral positions that are in line with the principles of the UN Charter.
I thank you so much, Councillor Dr. Hossam Deen Allam, international law expert, for joining us tonight on the Daily Debate and highlighting more on Egypt's support to the Gaza file in addition, and in the eyes also of international humanitarian law, what could be done, what could be the next scenarios. Our analysis continues here on Nile TV International, and I'm Taghreed Hussein, thanking you all for watching.